We spend our lives sculpting masks, yet beneath them we are more infinite than we dare to believe. Have you ever stopped to wonder who you truly are? Not the role you play for the world, not the mask you present to others, but the self beneath the surface. This is a question that quietly whispers through the cracks of your facade. It calls to you in moments of stillness, in moments when the world fades away and you are left standing face to face with yourself. For so long we have been taught to perform, to polish and refine the way we appear, to mold ourselves into images that are palatable to others. Masks of strength, masks of happiness, masks of control. They protect us, shield us, and even win the approval of those around us. But do they ever truly satisfy our deepest longings? Every mask comes at a cost. Beneath the surface there is a peculiar ache, a gnawing feeling that something vital is missing. Perhaps it is the connection to your true self. Perhaps it is the longing for freedom, the kind of freedom that can only come from unmasking, from being raw and unfiltered, from stepping away from perfection and standing fully in your truth. This video takes you on a journey inward, a journey to peel back the layers, to sit with the parts of yourself you have ignored or hidden away for so long, to recognize the masks that no longer serve you, and finally ask, who am I when all the masks fall away? Let's begin. Imagine. Do not dare to breach the familiar boundary of the persona you have created. But buried deep within you is a voice, gentle yet powerful. It says, there is more to you than this. This is not where your journey ends. This is not all there is to you. The space between the ego and the true self is often cluttered with chaos. Overthinking meddles in the silence. It creates a web of thoughts, rooted in your fears and uncertainties, pulling you away from stillness. You replay the past over and over, analyze the future until exhaustion wraps around your soul. Emotional baggage from memories unsorted, pain from moments that remain unresolved. Ego-driven control that constantly tells you, you must create your worth, you must prove your value, you must manage everything perfectly just to be accepted. But the wisdom you seek, the clarity you long for, has never existed in this loop. The answers are not in fixing or performing. They are in surrender, surrendering the mask, surrendering control, surrendering the illusion of perfection. Your true self is not a polished version of you. It is not something you can add or subtract like ornaments on a tree. It is the very essence that has always been with you, quiet like the depths of an ocean, steady like the roots of a great tree. It does not demand applause. It does not seek validation. It simply waits for you to remember it. So, how do we access this untouched self? How do we soften into the knowing of who we truly are? The journey does not begin outward. It does not begin with external achievements or accolades. It begins by entering the silence, silencing the need to impress, silencing the compulsion to overthink, silencing the fears telling you you are not enough. Sit with yourself. Sit, not with your thoughts, but with the space between them. Allow the chaos to fall away bit by bit, layer by layer. You may not feel a grand revelation at first, but what emerges slowly and patiently is relief, peace, quiet. This is your true self. It is not loud. It does not insist, but its presence will ripple through your being, like the soft touch of sunlight. It is calm, resilient, and more expansive than anything you could create externally. This is merely the beginning of the story. There is more to shed. There is more to explore. Let us continue. The masks we wear serve a purpose for a time. They protect us from the scrutiny of others. They help us navigate the complexities of relationships and societal expectations. But what happens when the mask begins to suffocate the soul? When it becomes not just a shield, but a prison? When the persona we work so hard to build starts to feel like a house of mirrors distorting the truth of who we are? Deep beneath the surface of your outer persona lies the true self, a quiet presence waiting to be remembered. It does not perform. It does not control. It does not need anyone else's approval to exist. It simply waits patiently for you to turn inward and ask, who am I beneath all of this noise? At first, turning inward can feel overwhelming. The chaos of the mind resists. Stillness feels unnatural because the ego thrives in motion and busying itself with endless thoughts and plans designed to keep you distracted. This resistance is the first barrier you must overcome if you are to awaken the true self. Your thoughts might flood you with doubts and fears. What if I am nothing without this mask? What if people no longer value me if I stop performing? But these fears are part of the illusion. They are mirrors of the mask itself, telling you that your worth is only tied to how you appear. But your worth does not depend on any outer validation. Your worth comes simply from being. And being is not noisy. It does not shout for attention or demand an audience. It is quiet, calm, spacious. It exists in the absence of performance, not because it lacks life, but because it is the life beneath all appearances. When you peel back the mask, you will meet emotions you've buried and truths you've ignored. At first, these encounters can feel uncomfortable, but they are not here to harm you. They are here to liberate you. They rise from your depths to remind you. These are not shackles. These are lessons. You will see your pain. You will meet your shadow, but you will also feel your own power waiting like light behind the clouds. Let us begin the next step of the journey. The journey to the true self begins with awareness. Awareness is not about overanalyzing every thought or emotion. It is not about fixing or changing who you are. Awareness is simply paying attention to what is present without judgment. Close your eyes for a moment and notice the breath. Notice how it flows in and out effortlessly. You do not need to control it. You do not need to force it into a rhythm. It simply happens, carrying with it life itself. This is a gateway to the true self, a reminder that your essence is untouched by effort. As you begin to settle into this awareness, you might notice the resistance rising. Your mind will try to pull you back into thinking, planning, worrying. It will remind you of tasks undone, conversations unresolved, identities unfulfilled. It will attempt to convince you that your value lies somewhere out there in the world, in the opinions of others, in the perfection of the mask. But this is an illusion. Let those thoughts come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Imagine them as waves crashing on the shore, loud and forceful at first, but always temporary. Beneath the waves, the ocean remains, vast and unmoving. That ocean is your true self-calm, infinite, and always present, no matter how turbulent the surface may appear. Think about how much time you spend in your life trying to control the uncontrollable. You replay old conversations in your mind, wishing you had said something different. You obsess over future outcomes, hoping to bend events in your favor. You make plans and projections, all in an attempt to secure approval or avoid rejection. But what if I told you that in your efforts to control, you are only feeding the mask? The mask thrives on control. It wants to shape how others see you. It wants to ensure you are always protected, always admired, always in control. But the paradox of the mask is that the more you cling to it, the more disconnected you become from yourself. And the more disconnected you are from yourself, the more control you lose over your inner peace. So how do you stop feeding the mask? You start by letting go. Let go of the need to explain yourself. Let go of the need to fix or perfect or achieve. Let go of the chase for validation. In the space where those habits once lived, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to feel lighter. You begin to notice the parts of yourself that have always been there but were buried under the layers of masks. These parts do not clamor for attention. They do not need to be good enough or prove themselves to anyone. They simply are. And in their quiet existence, they carry a power that no mask could ever emulate. This journey of letting go is not a single moment. It is not a sudden epiphany that instantly transforms your life. It is a practice, a daily commitment to meeting yourself as you are, without judgment, without excuses, without fear. You may wonder why this feels so difficult. Why does it feel like peeling back the layers will expose something you'd rather not see? This is because the mask has convinced you that the shadows within you are to be feared. But the shadows are only unexamined, parts of yourself waiting to return to the light. Imagine the shadow not as an enemy, but as a teacher. It holds the wounds you have ignored, the emotions you've suppressed, the truths you've avoided. Meeting your shadow is like meeting an old friend you've forgotten. It brings discomfort at first, but it also brings healing. And when you heal, you shed another layer of the mask. Now, let us move deeper into this journey. Imagine yourself walking through a dense forest. The trees around you are tall and overgrown, their branches weaving into a canopy that blocks out the sun. Beneath your feet, the earth feels uneven, cluttered with roots and fallen leaves. This forest is your inner world, a place you have not fully explored because it feels unfamiliar, even intimidating. But as you walk further, something shifts. The light begins to filter through the trees. The path beneath your feet grows clearer. You notice flowers blooming amidst the chaos of the forest floor. You realize that it is not the forest itself that was frightening, it was your fear of navigating it. Your inner world is the same. The tangled thoughts, the unexamined emotions, the uncertainties, they are not your enemies. They are simply parts of you waiting to be seen. waiting to be understood. And as you give them your attention, the chaos begins to dissolve. This is the power of presence. Presence is the art of being fully here, fully aware, without trying to change or escape the moment. You might believe that your problems and struggles exist to be solved, but what if they are simply asking to be witnessed? Instead of running from them, what if you allowed yourself to sit with them, to feel them, to understand what they are trying to teach you? When you sit with your struggles instead of resisting them, you begin to notice something remarkable. The fear, the anger, the sadness, these emotions are not who you are. They are experiences passing through you. They are waves on the surface of the ocean, but they are not the ocean itself. This realization is a turning point. You begin to see that the masks you wear, the personas you create, are only temporary identities. They are tools you've used to navigate the world, but they are not the essence of who you are. And as you release your attachment to these identities, you begin to step into a deeper truth. The truth is that you are not your achievements. You are not your failures. You are not the roles you play or the image you project. You are something much greater, much deeper, much more infinite. This infinite self does not seek validation because it knows it is whole. It does not fear rejection because it knows it cannot be diminished. It does not chase after control because it knows that true power comes from surrender. When you awaken the true self, you stop living from a place of lack. You stop searching for something outside yourself to complete you or make you worthy. Instead, you begin to live from a place of wholeness. You realize that everything you need has always been within you. The ego clings to constructs of identity. It whispers that who you are is determined by your accomplishments, your relationships, your possessions. It encourages you to measure your worth based on how others perceive you. But underneath these constructs of identity exists your true self, a formless presence that cannot be defined, measured, or diminished. The masks you wear are born from the ego's need for control. It is afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of being seen as imperfect. So, it builds layers around you, walls of perception that keep you safe, but also keep you disconnected. These masks are not inherently bad. They were created out of a desire to protect you. But they are not sustainable for the soul, because the soul longs to breathe freely. Consider this question. Who are you without your masks? Without your achievements? Without the roles you play for others? Without the version of yourself you've curated for safety and approval? Who remains in the absence of all the layers? This question often feels unsettling because the answer cannot be grasped by the mind. Your true self does not live in thought. It exists in presence. It is not something you can analyze or explain. It simply is. The process of unmasking is not a dismantling of your personality. You are not destroying who you are. You are rediscovering what lies beneath. It is like peeling back the layers of an onion. The deeper you go, the closer you get to the untouched core. This is not a journey of becoming. It is a journey of remembering. Remembering that you are not defined by your successes or failures. Remembering that you are not the stories your mind tells you. Remembering that you are not incomplete, but whole, even in your most unpolished, unfiltered state. Let yourself pause and reflect here. Where in your life have you been clinging to a mask? Where have you been performing for the sake of approval or acceptance? Where have you been avoiding the stillness of your true self? As you begin to answer these questions, you may find moments of discomfort. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that a deeper layer of truth is being revealed. When you sit with this discomfort and allow it to be present, you begin to meet the parts of yourself that have been hidden away. These parts may include old emotions you've suppressed for years, memories you've avoided revisiting, beliefs you've internalized from others without questioning. But as you bring them into awareness, you do not need to act on them, change them, or solve them. You simply need to witness them. Witnessing is one of the most transformative acts you can offer yourself. It is the courage to say, "I see you," without judgment. It is the gentleness to hold space for every fractured part of your being and welcome it into wholeness. Through witnessing, your burdens begin to lighten. Your need for control begins to soften. Your fragmented self begins to integrate. And in this integration, you awaken to a simple yet profound truth. You are already enough. You always have been. Hold this awareness as we move deeper into our journey. The masks you wear often act as bridges to the expectations of others. You tell yourself that one more success, One more perfected image, one more carefully crafted performance will bring you closer to being loved, accepted, or valued. But in chasing the approval of the world, you risk losing the connection to the home within yourself. Love, acceptance, and value cannot be sustained by external sources because they are meant to arise from within. When you rely on others to define your worth, you give away your power. You become dependent on their opinions and their validation. What happens when their approval fades? What happens when their perception of you changes? This dependency is unstable because it is rooted in something beyond your control, something external. Your true self does not chase approval because it does not need external validation to exist. It knows that love, acceptance, and worth are inner states, not outer conditions. The journey to the true self is about reclaiming this inner authority. It is about recognizing that your wholeness does not depend on what others see in you. It is about rediscovering the quiet power that lies within, waiting to remind you that you are enough exactly as you are. One of the most profound acts of reclaiming this inner authority is learning to say no, not from a place of fear or resistance, but from a place of truth and alignment. The masks often say yes to things you do not truly want because they are afraid of rejection or judgment. But your true self says no to what does not serve you. Saying no creates spaciousness. It allows you to honor your own boundaries rather than conforming to the expectations of others. It thrives in authenticity and stillness. Stillness is one of the most overlooked gateways to the true self. It requires nothing but your willingness to pause. In stillness, there is no mask to perform. There is no identity to uphold. There is only being. Stillness asks you to release the grip of overthinking, to step away from the endless search for solutions, to trust that in the absence of noise, the answers you need will arise on their own. In this space of stillness, you begin to touch the essence of who you are. You begin to feel the quiet presence that has always been within you, a presence untouched by time, circumstance, or judgment. Imagine the layers of masks you've accumulated over the years. These masks did not appear overnight. They were shaped by experiences, beliefs, and the words of others. They were formed in moments when you felt you needed to hide your pain, when vulnerability seemed too risky, or when the world demanded more of you than you were able to give. But what happens when these masks become so thick that you can no longer recognize the face beneath them? What happens when you begin to mistake the mask for who you are? What happens when the person you present to the world feels like a stranger, even to yourself? This disconnection is not an ending. It is an invitation. It is an invitation to pause, to question, and to return to the essence of who you are. Begin by recognizing the masks for what they are. They are not you. They are expressions of fear, protection, and performance. They were created to shield you from rejection or pain, but they were never meant to define you. Take a moment to see the mask. Place it gently in front of you, as if you were holding it in your hands. Notice the weight of it, the effort it takes to maintain it. Notice how much energy you've poured into keeping it intact. And then, as you feel ready, begin to set it down. Setting down the mask is not a one-time event. It is a practice. Even as you peel back one layer, another may surface. The mind tries to hold on, fearing what lies beyond the mask. But with each moment of release, you draw closer to the untouched self, waiting just beneath the surface. The untouched self does not strive, it simply is. It cannot fail because it does not measure its worth through success. It cannot be wounded because its source of wholeness is eternal. It does not seek approval because its value does not waver. Consider this question. What would life look like if you lived as your true self, without the mask, without trying to be more than you are, without apologizing for who you are? It would look like freedom. Freedom from the need to control. Freedom from the fear of rejection. Freedom from unnecessary complexity. It would look like simplicity, a life lived from the heart instead of the mind, guided by intuition instead of overthinking. The true self is simple. It does not multiply or complicate. It listens quietly to the rhythm of life and follows its natural flow. As you begin to awaken to this simplicity, you may find moments of clarity, the kind of clarity that reminds you who you are and what truly matters. Clarity is not about knowing every answer or predicting every outcome. It is about trusting yourself, trusting the unfolding of each moment, and knowing that whatever arises is enough because you are enough. Hold this sense of freedom and clarity as we move further. The journey inward is not without challenges. At times, it may feel like you're confronting parts of yourself you would rather avoid. Old wounds may resurface, asking to be held. Emotions like fear, shame, and sadness may appear, asking to be felt. When these moments arise, remember this: you are not broken. You are not less than whole. These feelings are not here to consume you. They are here to teach you. Consider pain not as your enemy, but as a loyal guide, inviting you to understand where healing is needed. Pain holds the wisdom of your wounded parts, the parts you have hidden away because they felt too raw to face. But within these wounds lies the deepest potential for growth. Healing is not about erasing the pain, it is about integrating it. It is about holding the wounded parts of yourself with compassion and offering them the presence they have always deserved. This act of integration is not something the mask can do. The mask fears the pain. It suppresses it, buries it, and avoids it. But the true self meets the pain with open arms, knowing that every part of you deserves to be seen and loved. To awaken the true self means to reclaim all parts of your being, the shadow and the light, the broken and the whole. When you stop resisting what arises within you, you create space for transformation. Transformation does not come from fixing it, it comes from surrender. Surrender is not about giving up or losing control. It is about allowing what is to be as it is, without judgment, without resistance, without fear. It is trusting that even in the chaos, there is an order emerging. Even in the uncertainty, there is clarity unfolding. Your true self thrives in surrender because it knows that nothing in this universe exists without purpose. The pain you feel, the struggles you endure, the lessons you learn, they all belong to your unfolding story, weaving together into the tapestry of your existence. As you soften into surrender, you may notice moments of stillness, moments where the chaos settles and the quiet presence of your true self begins to shine through. These moments are not fleeting. They are reminders of what lies within you at all times, even when the surface seems turbulent. The true self is not bound by time. It does not dwell in the past, replaying mistakes or holding on to regrets. It does not worry about the future, fearing what may or may not come to pass. The true self exists fully and completely in the present moment. Living in the present moment is one of the greatest gifts you can offer yourself, yet it is often one of the most challenging practices to embody. The mind constantly pulls you into narratives about the past or projections about the future. It distracts you from the simplicity of being here and now. But consider this: the present is the only space where life truly unfolds. The past is a memory, the future a possibility. The only truth that exists is this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. When you bring your awareness to the present, you begin to experience life as it is, instead of life as your mind imagines it to be. You see the details you would have otherwise overlooked: the way the sunlight dances through the leaves, the sound of the wind brushing against your skin, the feeling of your breath rising and falling. These moments of awareness remind you that life is not something to chase or control. It is something to experience fully, to embrace without condition. The masks you wear often pull you out of this present moment. They push you toward achieving, performing, controlling. They convince you that your worth lies in what you must do or become. But the moment you step away from the mask, you step into the now, where you do not need to strive. In the now, there is nothing to prove, nothing to fix, nothing to earn. There is only being, and being is enough. As you settle into the present, you may feel moments of peace, a sense of relief that you do not have to carry the weight of the past or the burden of the future. You do not have to uphold the mask or cling to the identities you've created. You can simply exist, free from judgment or expectation. This freedom is not found in complexity, but in simplicity. The simplicity of allowing yourself to be fully here, fully alive, fully connected to the truth of who you are. The journey to the true self is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to the wholeness that has always existed within you. When you live from this place of wholeness, you begin to see life differently. You stop chasing after what you believe is missing because you recognize that nothing is missing. You stop fearing vulnerability because you understand that your openness is your greatest strength. You stop seeking validation because you remember that your worth is inherent, eternal, and unchanging. The true self is your anchor in the storm, your light in the darkness, your quiet strength in the noise of the world. It reminds you that no matter what arises, you are more than the masks you wear. You are infinite. You are untethered. You are whole. The process of awakening the true self is not a destination, it is a practice, a way of being. There will be moments when the mask feels heavy again, moments when the chaos of the mind tries to pull you away. But each time you return to the quiet presence within you, you reaffirm that the mask will never define who you truly are. As you move through life, continue to ask yourself gentle questions that invite you closer to your essence. Am I wearing a mask right now? And if so, why? What am I protecting myself from? And can I meet that fear with compassion? What does my true self want in this moment, beyond the noise of my thoughts? These questions are not meant to judge or criticize. They are guides leading you back to your center. Over time, you may find that the masks begin to fall away naturally. You may notice that the need to perform, to control, or to seek external approval softens. You begin to replace fear with trust. You will remain anchored in the unshakable knowing of who you are. You will face each moment, not as an identity or a mask, but as the infinite presence that transcends them both. And as you embody this presence, you will begin to notice a ripple effect. Your relationships may deepen as you show up authentically, without pretense. You may feel lighter with less need to shape how the world perceives you. You may discover a profound sense of peace that comes not from controlling life, but from fully embracing it. The journey to the true self is both simple and profound. It is not about adding to who you are, but shedding what you are not. It is not about perfecting yourself, but remembering your wholeness. It is not about chasing life. It is about being life itself. As you step fully into your true self, you will find that there is no need to search for answers. The answers have always been within you, waiting for the noise to quiet so they can rise to the surface. So let yourself pause. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself return to the quiet presence beneath it all. Every step inward is a step closer to the truth of who you are. As you shed the masks and let the essence of your true self shine, you become the light that invites others to do the same. Comment below with, "I choose authenticity." Let's commit to rediscovering ourselves together. Share this journey with someone searching for their inner truth and remind them that beneath the layers, they've always been whole. Subscribe for more reflections like this, where we explore the sacred art of being fully, unapologetically alive.